Tonight on KVR News,
Austinites gather at the state capitol to march for Trump.
A Texas lawyer urges students to know their immigration rights.
And demonstrators demand state legislators to offer Texans health care.
You're watching KVR News, your leader for live, local UT coverage.
Broadcasting live from the Texas Student Television Studios at the University of Texas. You're watching KVR News at 9, Austin's leader for live, local UT coverage. Your news starts right now.
Good evening and welcome back to KVR News for Monday, March 6th. I'm Brianna Rodriguez.
And I'm Katie Balevic. Thank you for joining us.
Over the course of a month and a half, President Trump and the Republican majority Congress delayed and reversed over 90 federal regulations. The scope of these reversals range from environmental regulations designed to protect drinking water from pollution to gun laws that restrict those with mental illnesses from buying handguns. These legislative actions, if passed, will undo a large amount of initiatives enacted by the Obama administration. While Republicans view these changes as relief to businesses across America, Democrats fear these changes will reduce safety and harm the environment.
The Keystone Pipeline will not be constructed with American steel, despite pledges from President Trump. When the Keystone Pipeline is finished, it will run oil from Canada to refineries in the Gulf Coast. Just last week, Trump stated the Keystone Pipeline must use American steel or else the nation would not build one. However, President Trump's very own directive issued in January offered construction companies a loophole by stating pipelines must use American steel to the maximum extent possible. This means construction companies may still use non-American steel. As a result, the partially completed pipeline will continue to use steel from all across North America, including Canada and Mexico. President Trump accused Barack Obama of wiretapping Trump Towers 1 month before the presidential election. Throughout the accusation, he offered no evidence. In a series of tweets, Trump compared the alleged tapping to the Nixon Watergate scandal. A spokesman for former President Obama calls the allegations simply false. Trump is currently working to secure access of foreign intelligence surveillance court documents. The Trump administration believes this federal agency authorized the surveillance on Trump Tower.
Marches in support of President Trump popped up throughout the nation on March 4th, each coined with the creative name March for Trump. We were on the scene.
In light of recent protests erupting around the nation against President Trump, Trump supporters gathered on Saturday, March the 4th for the March for Trump. The march was created for the purpose of showing support for Donald Trump and his newly elected office. Supporters came from different organizations, including large minority organizations like Latinos for Trump and supporters from the LGBTQ community. Some attendees told us what they hope those who don't support the president will see from this march.
Donald Trump has been demonized in the media, and that he just wants safety for all Americans, and he is not racist. He just wants, if you are an immigrant, to come here legally and not illegally.
A counter-protest began shortly after the March for Trump started, causing a fight and increased police intervention. A counter-protester tells us his reasoning for protesting the march.
I've never been the sort to say he's not my president because he is the president of the country I live in. I can't, that's not, to me, that's not refutable. I would prefer to point out why he has no business being president.
Brianna Rodriguez, KVR News.
The Know Your Rights presentation was hosted by Crystal Gomez. Gomez led the ACLU of Texas Immigrants' Rights Campaign, where she focused on border issues. The presentation focused on knowing what to do when confronted by law enforcement officers and immigration officials.
Anybody who is at all connected to anyone who has an unauthorized immigration status, I think, feels a lot of anxiety right now. Of course, we should have been feeling anxiety through the entire Obama administration because there were so many deportations under Obama as well, but this feels a bit more aggressive.
Healthcare activists from across the state rallied at the Capitol to call for an expansion of healthcare coverage for all Texans. Activists gathered Monday morning after the Texas Senate's budget proposal said it will underfund Medicaid by $1.9 billion. The new budget would make healthcare cuts across the board, including Medicaid for low-income children, seniors, pregnant women, and Texans with disabilities. Protesters called for the continuation of the Affordable Care Act and to expand health care coverage to all the uninsured. Representatives will be looking out for the new laws put in place by the Trump administration.
We will be there to speak out all day and well into the night for you and offer what amendments we can to try to make this better.
France's presidential election is approaching quickly, but many French citizens remain unsatisfied with the current pool of candidates. Thousands requested a candidate that isn't currently running for president, Barack Obama. As many as 44,000 people signed a petition to make sure their 25th president. Although petitioners realize it is not possible for Obama to become their next president, it doesn't stop them from saying, yes, we can.
The Texas legislator proposed a bill that would prevent employers being able to fire employees who express their political views off the clock. James White, a Republican representing the Woodsville area, submitted HB 2787. He noticed the concerns of several employers who felt public pressure to fire employees who express their political views. Though this bill would apply to all employers, White suggested it would help to protect journalists who express their political views on social media or at protests. If passed, the bill would reduce pressure on TV stations, newspapers, and radios to fire politically active journalists.
Texas lawmakers filed 2 pieces of legislation that aim to address the funding gap between public charter schools and traditional public schools. Unlike public schools, charter schools do not receive local property tax dollars or hold bond elections to cover new construction costs. If passed, the bills will set aside state funding for charter schools to use on facilities. Local public schools argue that they also face limited resources and serve a larger population of students, but remain short on funding. Activists from local charter schools plan to gather at the Capitol tomorrow, March 7th, to support the bill. We'll be back with more news after the break. UTPD tells us what they know about the sexual assault that occurred on campus.
The calls your cell phone received from an unknown number may have been part of a scam hitting a number of UT students.
And a Jewish community center in West Campus struck with vandalism.
We'll have more KVR news coming up after the break.
Have a news tip or story idea? Call the KVR News Tip Line, 475-8181.
UT students received a UT safety alert email stating that a sexual assault occurred on Saturday night on West Campus. The brief email informed students that the assault happened between 10 p.m. and 12:40 a.m. on the block of Guadalupe Street between the Co-op and Dean Keaton, an area that is considered to be well lit by safety initiatives such as SureWalk. The victim, a UT student, did not know her attackers. As of now, no information is available regarding a description of the attackers. Here at KVR, we want to remind students to be especially cautious of walking home alone late at night and always be aware of your surroundings.
IRS phone scams targeted a number of UT students this semester, swindling them out of hundreds of dollars. We went out to investigate where these scammers find your personal information and what you can do to prevent yourself from becoming a victim.
Tax season is here, and with it, more reports of UT students receiving phone calls saying there are warrants out for the student's arrest and demanding money immediately. Students of all classifications have been receiving these phone calls regardless of international, out-of-state, or in-state student status. A UT freshman says it was one of the scariest moments she has experienced.
I thought he was watching me. I literally looked around and I was so terrified because just the way, he said it very angrily and really accurately to where I literally was like, does this guy see me right now? And that was what was the most terrifying part of the whole thing, in my opinion. Not even the 3 warrants for my arrest. It was literally just the idea that he could see me.
Who exactly are these scammers aiming their calls to?
The answer is simple. It is any student with a phone and their information on the UT student directory.
The University of Texas website warns international students that they have been frequently victimized by these calls. The International Student Services Building tells students to quickly report these phone calls to their personnel.
International students are kind of perfect victims for these because when they come to the United States, they're unaware of a lot of the rules, and there are so many rules and regulations, and it is so easy to break them. And so when scammers kind of prey on that vulnerability, students think, oh, maybe there was an educational tax that I didn't pay. They don't know that it's a made-up thing. They don't know how official communication works in this country.
Now UTPD is warning students to quickly hang up and report to them if one of these phone calls is received. Brianna Rodriguez, KVR News.
UTPD's Cynthia Posey says if anyone receives a call where someone is asking for money in any form, gift cards included, look for the phone number of the caller, write it down, and hang up. If they call back, even repeatedly, do not answer. Never answer from that number again.
As thousands of people make their way to Austin for South by Southwest this week, over 50 artists threatened to withdraw from the music festival. The artist's controversy comes after Slant's lead singer, Felix Walworth, posted a photo of the festival's contract. The photograph says the conference reserves the right to alert U.S. immigration authorities about international artists if they violate their performance agreement. South by Southwest released a statement saying it takes a public stance against President Trump's travel ban and Senate Bill 6. The statement also says the clause has been in the contract since 2013. A South by Southwest representative says they will review and amend it for 2018. UT's newly renovated outdoor sports facility, the Whitaker Sports Complex, will open March 7th for student use and for public sports. However, 3 intramural sports, flag football, 7-on-7 soccer, and sand volleyball, will begin on March 20th, the Monday after spring break. The complex closed in October 2015 to completely reconstruct the 35-acre property. UT spent $23 million to ensure that the facility promoted student safety and environmental well-being.
Explore UT is an event to inform students, parents, teachers, and the community across the state about the importance of a public research institution and higher education in Texas. Students of all ages are encouraged to learn hands-on research experiments and the university's overall knowledge. Explore UT seeks to motivate all kinds of students to achieve a higher education after high school.
I hope that they can see that even though this is a big university and some people say, oh, it's really hard to go to UT or it's hard to go to any college in general, that despite what you look like or despite where you come from, that you can get to those places if you really want to.
Austin's iconic outdoor Hope Gallery will move its location due to an increasing amount of graffiti vandalism on the property of neighboring businesses. Hope Gallery, also known as Graffiti Park, remains a street art landmark for artists all over the country. However, with increasing unregistered markings on the wall, in addition to vandalism on private property, owners say the gallery has no choice but to move. The gallery does not know where their new park will be located, but hope to find a new spot by the end of the year.
Overnight Sunday, an unknown individual painted a curse word over the iconic I Love You So Much wall. The wall, a popular picture-taking spot for Austin tourists, resides on the side of Joe's Coffee on South Congress. As of now, there are no suspects. Joe said the sign usually gets vandalized about once a week. However, this time the entire wall had to be repainted green.
Vandals broke a window of the Jewish Community Center, Hillel, Texas, last Saturday. UTPD and APD are currently investigating the incident. The Student Center organizes community volunteer events and promotes social activism for UT's Jewish community. Texas Hillel released a statement regarding the incident, but are not conducting any on-camera interviews at this time. The statement speaks about, on Saturday morning, a window of the Texas Hillel building was broken. Acts of vandalism such as this are unacceptable and have no place on our campus. We are cooperating with UTPD and university administrators as they investigate this incident and whether the university's Jewish community was specifically targeted. We hope swift action is taken to hold those responsible to account. This represents a growing trend of anti-Semitic vandalism across the nation. On Friday, Missouri police arrested Juan M. Thompson, a former reporter from The Intercept, for allegedly making 8 bomb threats to Jewish institutions. The FBI will begin to look for suspects like Thompson in dozens of other incidents.
Student government elections continue after the first series of votes ended in the disqualification of an executive alliance and a runoff between the remaining 2 candidates. Blake Burley and Robert Guerra were disqualified from the election due to a Class D violation. They did not submit their financial statements on time. An executive alliance needs more than 50% of the vote in order to win a general election. The Alejandrina Mickey ticket had 39.11% of the vote, and the Isaiah Sidney campaign received 32.87% of the vote. As a result, the election moved to a runoff, which will start this Wednesday, March 8th.
Well, Katie, I don't know about you, but the weather this week was awful. I was dragging my feet as I walked across campus. Literally, I was miserable.
It really was. And it was pouring rain this weekend while Explore UT was going on, and I felt so bad for those little kids.
I didn't even think Think about that. Well, I sincerely hope they still got a good impression of UT. We're going to take it to Weather Center with Jaewon. Jaewon, please tell us we have something good coming.
Well, Katie and Brianna, it looks like we should all have our umbrellas ready as we head to our midterms because it's going to be pretty wet and cloudy this week. We'll have more after this break.
You're watching KVR News at 9. Your campus, your news.
This morning was drizzly here and there, but the small showers stopped towards the afternoon. Continue to expect cloudy skies and muggy humidity. The high was an 81, and we're expecting a low of 65 tonight with a 20% chance of rain and some fog after midnight. So remember to take an umbrella on your trip to that late night study group. On Tuesday, there will be a high of 72 and a low of 52, with a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms before noon. But we can expect to see bluer skies right after the storm for the rest of the day. On Wednesday, it will be mostly cloudy throughout the day with a high of 73 and a low of 62, along with a 20% chance of rain in the evening. On Thursday, there is a 30% chance of thunderstorms with a high in the mid-70s and a low in the mid-60s. On Friday, there is another 20% chance of thunderstorms with a high in the upper 70s and a low in the 60s. On Saturday, there is yet another 20% chance of rain and thunder with a high in the upper 70s and an increased 40% chance of rain in the evening, with the weather dropping to the lower 50s. Which sounds like a perfect night for staying in and relaxing with a TV show. The weekend will end on a brighter note with Sunday being mostly sunny with highs around the lower 70s and a low around 60. Overall, it looks like we'll all have to push through the week of midterms and damp weather and look forward to a sunnier and drier Sunday. Live in the Weather Center, Jaewon, back to you guys.
Thanks, Jaewon.
We'll be back with Mackenzie Palmer from College Pressbox after the break.
You're watching KVR News at 9. Your campus, your news.
Welcome back to KVR News. I'm Mackenzie Palmer. After defeating Oklahoma State in Saturday, 71-60, Texas women's basketball advanced to the Big 12 tournament semifinals. They would be looking to advance to the finals for a possible rematch with the Baylor Bears. However, they would fall short, losing to West Virginia 62-59. They will now await their seeding in the NCAA tournament, which will be announced on next Monday. After winning this past Tuesday at home against Lamar 9-5, Texas baseball went on the road to Stanford over the weekend. Texas won the series opener on Thursday 4-0 thanks to 7 innings and 8 strikeouts from Nolan Keenum. That would end up being the only win on the weekend for the Horns, losing on Friday 3-2 on a walk-off single, and then on Saturday an extra inning 5-2 and 2-1 in the second game of the doubleheader on Saturday. They will now head home and begin a 9-game homestand tomorrow night. On Saturday, Texas men's basketball welcomed the 11th ranked Baylor Bears to Austin for Senior Day. Our own Nick Walters was there and reports how the game was a microcosm of how the whole season will go.
In a season of perpetual disappointment, it was only fitting that the Texas Longhorns come up short in their finale. The 11th ranked Baylor Bears spoil Senior Day at the Drum, taking down the Horns 75-64.
Games like today, we failed to go out and execute exactly what we needed to do as a unit and make enough winning plays.
It's a different game and the same exact story for Texas. Despite trailing by only 6 in the second half, the Longhorns crumbled down the stretch, creating a microcosm for their disastrous 10-21 season.
Now, if you're talking about being comfortable with the results we've had, I mean that's obviously I'm highly uncomfortable with that, and it's been a really, I think challenging year for everyone in our program from that standpoint.
Coach Smart has stressed time and time again the lack of consistent drive in this maturing Longhorn team. Unfortunately for Texas fans, the motivation of the senior send-off wouldn't cut it for the Horns.
There's motivation all around you if you look for it and if you choose to grab it. Today that motivation I felt was our seniors. I felt that's what it needed to be. but obviously it wasn't strong enough.
This loss is a sour cherry on top of a season stained by 21 losses, marking the worst season suffered by the Horns in 33 years. The season's twists and turns, roaring comebacks, and underwhelming letdowns, all encapsulated in today's 75-64 loss to Baylor. From the Irwin Center, Nick Walters, College Pressbox.
We'll head over to Bonnie Chu to give us the latest scoop in Hollywood. Bonnie?
Wolverine's new movie claws its way to the top of the box office. The character in Disney's new live-action Beauty and the Beast stirs up controversy, and Emma Watson claps back and defines feminism.
You're watching KVR News at 9. Your campus, your news.
Hugh Jackman's final splash at Wolverine was a huge hit this weekend. Logan, the last film of Wolverine trilogy, ranked 5th for the highest opening R-rated film. It earned $85.3 million domestically and $152 million internationally, totaling $237.8 million. This is Fox's third biggest international opening film. The production cost of the Logan was $97 million. This is Jackman's 9th time playing the legendary X-Men character over the course of 17 years. Disney's latest live-action film, Beauty and the Beast, has been receiving a lot of negative attention because of an interview director Bill Condon did with Attitude magazine. He shared that the male character, LeFou, is confused by his feelings toward another male character, Gaston. LeFou is somebody who one day wants to be Gaston and on another day wants to kiss Gaston, states Condon. Some theaters banned the movie from being played across the U.S. because of the homosexual reference. Even Russia is taking a stand against the movie. In the March 2017 issue of Vanity Fair, Emma Watson, UN ambassador and star of the upcoming live-action Beauty and the Beast remake, posed in various outfits. In one photo, parts of her chest were showing which caused her critics to claim that she was anti-feminist. In a video interview, Watson described feminism as being about giving women choice, freedom, and liberation. She claims that just because she showed her skin in a Vanity Fair photo shoot that she can still believe in her values. The story comes just in time for International Women's Day this Wednesday, where the campaign asked participants to be bold for change, something that Watson is particularly known for in popular and political culture alike.
Thanks, Bonnie, and thank you for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us for news updates throughout the week. You can follow us on Twitter at KVR News and like us on Facebook. I'm Katie Balevic.
And I'm Brianna Rodriguez. Stay tuned for College Pressbox up next on Texas Student Television. Have a great week.